We have reported a number of new projects and challenges for the city to start the new year, and tonight's guest on Community Conversation with Charles Christian is here to address some of those. St. Joseph City Manager Bryan Carter joins us live. Charles.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Bryan, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bryan Carter is our first repeat guest on this, so
yep.
I guess congratulations for that. I don't know if that's right, but to get started, I know one of the big concerns right now is the police chief search. So could you update us on kind of where we are in that process and which company you're using and who they've worked with?
Yep, so we've gone through a bit of a process to get to this point,
sure.
But we have hired a search firm, public sector search and consulting, that specializes in law enforcement recruitment efforts. They're going to help lead our police chief search. They've kicked off their work actually last week. As of right now, we've put a survey out on our website to help identify the characteristics, the experiences, and the education and other qualities that the community wants to see in the next police chief to make sure that we get the right fit and the best possible candidate we can.
That sounds good. And have you, what is the next step after they bring names to you? Is the whole council then would meet together?
Well, there are a few steps that'll happen before we get some names. What we're doing now is really developing that candidate profile, developing, I guess, the advertisement that will go out there, so candidates for the job can see about the job and identify if this is the right place for them. After that happens, they'll go through, the search firm will go through some initial selection process before they bring candidates back to us, and we'll engage what'll essentially be a second round of public input to start talking to some candidates, determining which candidate's the right fit and will be the best police chief for St. Joseph.
Great. It's probably hard to gauge that time frame. It could take months, probably, right?
You know, it can be hard to gauge because, of course, you're working with several people's schedules, but we're initially thinking it'll be about 4 to 6 months.
Okay, very good. Shifting gears a little bit, the new marijuana law has also presented revenue opportunities in a way for the city. Talk about where we are on that process in regard to the marijuana tax and those discussions. What comes next?
Yeah, so there is really a lot that goes into the new marijuana law and Amendment 3. One of the things that goes into it is the ability for municipalities to impose a 3% sales tax that'll apply to just the sale of marijuana. The City Council met in December and initially decided that we weren't going to do that quite yet. However, as time progressed, we learned that right about 60 municipalities in Missouri were actually going to go ahead and move forward with proposing that marijuana tax in April. We looked at that. We looked at the fact that we're really going to be dealing with a lot of new regulation that's going to have to be imposed and just changes to the existing ordinances and procedures in St. Joseph, and decided that now it actually is the right time to go ahead and propose that sales tax on marijuana. So that's something that the community will be seeing on the April ballot.
Okay, April ballot it is. And there, just really quickly, I know that there's so much we could cover, but there are ARPA funds that you guys have been discussing, and we just talk about kind of where that's going to end up probably.
Yeah, so most recently the City Council has met actually with representatives of Missouri Western State University to discuss the university's work on the Convergent Technology Alliance Center. That is a center that's going to deal a lot with workforce development and technical education. The university has worked with North Central Missouri College on developing that center and discussed the appropriation of $1.5 million in support for the center. So that will be coming up before the City Council again soon.
Very good. And a couple more things before we go. There's a lot of discussion about city pool, and there's strategic planning that's still going on. So if you want to hit any of those really quickly before we have to go, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the City Council is going through a strategic planning process now to set out what the next few years will look like for the city, and really to kind of set the guide of what we'll work toward, the goals and objectives that we'll try to achieve, and those overarching elements. It's going to give us the roadmap for how we proceed over the coming years.
Very good. Very good. And real quick, anything about the pool?
On the pools, yeah. So part of the parks tax that was passed about 1.5 years ago included including money for basically reconstructing the lap pool at the aquatic park. that was set aside $8 million. We were anticipating moving forward with reconstruction of that pool in the next year. However, we're kind of going through a reevaluation process right now, determining if there's not a better way to handle that. Ultimately, it's a pool that's open 3 months a year. There might be a better way to handle that.
Okay. All right. We look forward to hearing more of that. Thanks for sharing. There's a lot, I know, of information and a lot of things go on your plate, but we do appreciate City Manager Bryan Carter joining us, and we'll have more news after the break.